Howdy everybody, how y'all doing? And welcome to the Ice House. We try to keep things cool, calm, and collected, and a little bit chill. But honestly, we're trying to keep it a lot bit chill because just because August is over and school's back for the fall doesn't mean the heat waves are done. And yeah, it's still rough out there, but we're gonna get through it together, right? And we're gonna make sure the Cubert does not melt once again this year. Yeah, last year was a lot bit rough, but you know, we keep going, right? Well, on to today's topic, right? And if you've been following along at home, which I know some of you do, and I thank you for that, you know that, well, I kind of have these, strings of consciousness, these trains of thought that sometimes I'll talk about one week, kind of beg the question and inspire me to expound on the idea for next week. And today is no exception, because as some of you may know, a couple weeks ago I was talking about, what's your motivation? What gets you up in the morning to do what you do? Show up the way you want to be, right? And usually it's more than just a desire to take care of yourself, because sometimes that works, but usually there's other factors, right? So, challenging you to kind of figure out what you're motivated for. And then last week, we was talking about the things that we need to figure out how to let go of or adjust to, the things that we hold on that keep us from moving forward, right? And that doesn't mean cutting it out of our lives or just dismissing it entirely, but understanding what it is and how it's helped us and how it may continue to help us in the future, just kind of changing the capacity and what it is, right? Because we are definitely a product of our experiences and our memories and all that. Well, to continue with that thought, today I wanted to talk about, and you can probably see in the title right there, are you guys, when you're trying to work through things and figure out where you're going, are you solving for X, or are you trying to solve a maze, right? Well, let's break that down, because first off, solving for X kind of makes sense, right? I'm just gonna be one of the first to come out and say, I'm a puppet, I'm not good at math. You all know that puppets can only count to 4, so, yeah, as much as I get that numbers and sometimes you have to solve for an actual logic sort of way, which I'm good at the logic games and, thought process, but if it's an actual number, I'm right out. So I leave it to real people, not imaginary numbers, imaginary puppets. Yeah, breaking that fourth wall again. But I will say, when it comes to the math and the algebra, I think I really enjoyed probably those word problems more than most. Not because I really wanted to solve to figure out which train was getting to Baltimore, Maryland quicker because of how many miles and how fast they were going, but at the same time, probably was the seeds for my pondering and pontification, which hopefully you've all come to love, or at least enjoy, or tolerate. Yeah. But moving on, like I said, there's the numbers and the finite X, but there's also are you solving for a maze? Now, this one may be obvious, but let's go into it too, because, well, a maze is a series of lots of different turns and twists where you're trying to get from point A to point B, and you're not trying to figure out one answer, you're trying to get through the whole thing. So, in that regards, solving for X or trying to solve a maze are you going to trying to solve a 2 problem, or you're trying to solve a through problem, right? Because there's validity to both, right? Sometimes you have to have a stepping stone or figure out what this factor is, because you can't move forward because it's, important to the equation, right? But then on the other hand, if you're only solving for X and that answer is good enough, well, it's sort of it's not a necessary you're trying to get through something, right? Like a maze is a series of twists and turns, It's a series of, well, it's a bit of a memory game too, but the point of a maze is trying to get through and beyond, right? It's, you figured out this turn and that turn are dead ends, but you still got to figure out how to get through the whole thing. Now, and I think here is kind of the important part, right? Because I do believe so much in life is about forward motion. It's about, like I talked about last week, not getting hung up on the things that keep you back or keep you from growing or keep you from moving forward. Because even if you're problem solving, and if you're getting the problem wrong or getting the answer wrong, or maybe you're using even the wrong equation, you're at least trying to work something out and get through and get past something, right? Like with a maze, it's going forward, right? Which, some mazes are pretty fun. Like, I remember seeing some where you have these little cards and you have to get stamps, so it's not just getting through, it's finding where you can get all the punches of your card, and it's a fun game. And I like games too, sometimes. But the most important part is if your goal is just to answer and solve for X and move on, it's kind of a one and done, right? You've got your answer, it fits, everything is all tidy, and you can just walk away because problem solved, right? But with a maze, or even with a puzzle, because, maze is a kind of puzzle, but with the maze, it's a lot of each little bit, each little answer gets you one step closer to moving past the obstacle, right? Because sometimes, if we set our goal on one finite thing and say, okay, it's done, it's worked out, I'm happy with it, we kind of forget the proof sets, and we kind of forget the point of trying to solve for that problem, because, well, if it's just homework and it's not something we store in as a learning tool to go forward, well, we might have to go back to that problem again and again, right? Now, I will say this, because being a casual gamer and my love for the Zelda franchise, which has somewhat diminished because of the open world games, and that's not the conversation for today, but the thing I loved about the Zelda games, and the reason why I'm kind of looking forward to this new Zelda game that's about Zelda instead of Link being the protagonist, is the fact that it's one of those games that has puzzles, right? And each layer of puzzle as you work through the game builds on itself, and it teaches you certain ways to figure out the game, and it teaches you certain rules of the world that, as it slowly develops and it slowly teaches you the next steps and adds more tools, you realize there's several ways to solve different problems. But if you hadn't figured out how to solve an early problem a certain way, you might not have the tools to figure out a later problem that combines all these complex ideas together, right? So it's not just solving this one puzzle, it's this whole game is kind of a maze and a series of puzzles. And I think that's kind of like life too, right? We try to work through things, and we try to build on our experiences. And like I said, I understand the value of solving for X and how important it is, but I also believe that if we're just solving a bunch of for X equations that are not connected, we're maybe doing our homework, but we're not seeing the big picture of how it's integrated, and maybe learning how they're all connected and trying to put them together might help us get through something instead of just getting to something and letting it go, right? Which I know is kind of a call back to last week's, and sometimes, well, that helps. But before I ramble on and get too confusing or confuse you, the point I wanted to make today is that working through things and setting a goal beyond just this one item, which is a very important, solving for X thing, it's important to remember the big picture of the situation. So, now I guess that's really for you to decide where you're at and what you're going through. Are you solving for X just because you need an answer and that's all you need in the moment? Or are you trying to get through somewhere to the next step or beyond something because, well, you want to keep moving, and this maze or this puzzle is something that you can learn from and learn something about yourself and the people around you, maybe just how life works on your way to, I don't know, wherever life has for you next. So, well, I guess that's all I have for today, and I think I'm ready to go play maybe some shoot 'em up games, because I think there was a lot of puzzling, maze, and solving for X in this whole video that I could use a break from. So, anyway, if you guys have any thoughts or comments, put them down below. Like and subscribe if you want to, and, well, share it out and whatnot. Just want to thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye!